Well, she brings up a lot of good points. I've read Pete Hendrickson's book, Cracking the Code. I'm fascinated by it because it's very truthful. It's very well done, very well researched. I couldn't poke any holes in it.
Was this something you were reading when you were first, coming across the information as an IRS agent? This is something down the line.
Down the line, yeah, more recent. Certainly confirmed a lot of the things that I had learned earlier through other sources. So on the one hand, very impressed with the book, Cracking the Code. I think it's another book that the IRS is trying to ban or otherwise put under a bushel so that no one...
Maybe we'll see that next to America to Freedom and Fascism in the next...
Probably so.
Next to the Turner Diaries.
Right.
Jeez.
But, so anyway, in terms of, the veracity of what he wrote about, unparalleled, it's really impressive. However, one of the reasons that I was prosecuted was these 3 tax returns that I was accused of preparing falsely was the first step in a process of asking for the client's money back. And we followed the rule book. And, in a sense, Pete Hendrickson's book is about the rule book. And people using Pete's method do ask for refunds. So having asked for a refund on behalf of a client myself and having been prosecuted and having to spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees, I'm not one to advocate going and trying to get your money back from the IRS. I mean, even though I was acquitted...
it's like trying to wrestle a nickel away from Ebenezer Scrooge, right?
Right. So, I do understand her comments about the book. I would highly recommend reading it. As far as going after your money with the IRS, if you got a couple $100,000 laying around...
It's a David and Goliath story, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. All right, let's go to Chris in Florida. Chris, you're on the line.
Hey, Joe, thanks for being such a pioneer and waking so many people up, making us think. Back in 1996, I had a court victory, and people have asked me the same kind of question that reporter asked you. Why, how did you get away with it? And the answer I have to, how did I get away with making a plea agreement to pay court fines, court costs, and since the court would not accept lawful money, as defined under Title 12, Section 152 of the U.S. Code, the Coinage Act, that discharged my obligation by her refusal of my tender. And when I get asked, well, how do you, why do you break the law? Why do you think the law doesn't apply to you? Well, I would say, well, I did obey the law. I did everything in my power to, and they just didn't feel like obeying the law themselves because here it is in the Coinage Act. And my question for you was, and maybe, I don't know if Alex would have this information because he said a couple of people in Las Vegas, 7 people in Las Vegas had used this argument where the lawful money is refused as tender, and so their obligation is discharged under the Uniform Commercial Code. So do you know of that case of the 7 people who tried that argument?
Yes, it's the Carey case. The gentleman's last name is spelled Kahre, but I believe he pronounces it Carey. And he was prosecuted, and I believe he was acquitted, but I think they've taken a second swing at him. I think he was in trial, I think in May. I don't know if the trial is still going on now, whether he was acquitted. I imagine that it's a very long trial. So it could still be going on right now, but I'll bet you if you Google or search engine Carey, Kahre, you'll see the latest results of that case. I do like the money issue. I think it puts it right in their face, the IRS's face, that they're not using lawful money. And when you try to actually tender payment in the form of gold, they're just like, it's like you've put a cross in front of Dracula.
Now, does it have to be gold? Can it be silver? And by the way, Chris, I thank you for the call. Because it is the Coinage Act. Is it basically precious metals, or is it just gold? Or
I'm not sure. The stories that I've heard are the anecdotal events of people actually presenting. They've presented gold. They presented basically gold American coins. And the IRS just freaks out. And here they are presenting actual money, as defined by the Constitution and the Coinage Act and the various statutes. So it's really amazing to watch the IRS squirm when it's like, yeah, I'm ready to pay you. Here's the money, and you plunk it on the table.
And it's like no dice.
It's like, well, we can't process that. So it's amazing. So I would encourage people to look into that issue in the Carey case. Again, Mr. Carey used that as a payment vehicle for the people that worked for him. And, sometimes the issue you bring up that is just such a devastating blow to the IRS can mean they're going to come out swinging with the most devastating blow to you. So, I mean, my hat is certainly off to Mr. Kerry, because he has dedicated a lot of his life to fighting over this. And, he's basically a business owner who is paying the people that do work for him in lawful money.
Well, they're saying it's not lawful anymore, because we had an Asheville man charged in alleged Liberty Dollar fraud scheme over the weekend. Yeah, it's unbelievable. This guy was basically just paying off his debts with silver coins in most instances. 1 ounce of silver, $20. I mean, I'm not sure what it's trading at right now. I think somewhere around the $16, $17 mark, but anybody knows you can't get an ounce of silver for less than $20 on the internet. Sometimes much more, sometimes upwards of $30, depending on what kind you buy and where you buy it. And they're saying that he's trying to bring down the United States dollar, like he's going after the currency. Well, it's really vice versa. They're trying to destroy the U.S. dollar, and they don't like people dealing in hard currency because it secures their assets.
Right. It's the actual property that you could actually hold on to, rather than having a diminishing value of these things they call dollars, the Federal Reserve notes.
Yeah, it's ever dwindling. Let's go to Josh in California. Josh, you're online. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Jason. Good evening to you both.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, I wanted to mention a couple of things and have you speak to these points particularly, because this is something that some people are doing, and it's well known in the Patriot movement. So aren't all indictments, warrants, etc., considered commercial offers, which can then also, as an offer, be accepted? And if there's no money circulating as far as currency, then doesn't the acceptance of that offer commit the full fulfillment of the obligation as far as the issue coming from the government, and then us having having a tax exemption? We can use that exemption to offset that liability and have them deduct that from our exemption. Now, can you speak to that? Do you know what I'm talking about, the redemption process?
Is this like common law, Josh?
No, the commerce and the commercial process that was developed by Roger Elvick in the late 1990s and early 2000s.
All right, let's get Joe's take on it in a moment. I got to let you go because you got that radio in the background. I can hear my echo.
I'm not too fond of that redemption I shouldn't say I'm not fond of it at all. I've never seen it actually work.
In theory, it's nice, but in reality, you're going to end up behind bars or worse.
There may be some truth to it. Maybe after the break, I can talk about a little more about.
All right, yeah, we're not trying to blow you off. We're not trying to bust you off the line, but you got to turn that radio down, guy. That's how it works. That's how this talk radio thing works. You call in, turn the radio down so I can't hear myself over and over again. Final segment with Joe Banister, freedomabovefortune.com. Be back after this.
Finally in the news this evening, it's being reported that cyber spies from Russia and China have now penetrated our power grid. Even as energy experts are reporting that each summer we get closer and closer to the limits of our nation's power grid, some say that this summer's demand for electrical power may finally push the grid over its edge, creating a cascade of power outages across the country, putting us all in the dark.
Are you prepared for the next round of storm-related outages or government-created blackouts? Have you ever thought about taking steps to get off the grid and generate your own private supply of electrical power? If so, this will be the most important information you have ever heard. Solar-powered generators are finally available. They have no moving parts to wear out or break and require absolutely no gas whatsoever. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Check out mysolarbackup.com before you lose your power.